Good morning. My name is Jeanette Gisbert. I'm the Executive Director of Volunteer New York, and it is my privilege to be here this morning. For over 70 years, Volunteer New York has worked in partnership with hundreds of local nonprofits to inspire individuals to get off the sidelines and volunteer in their community. Last year, we inspired more than 33,000 individuals, families, and groups throughout Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam counties. Combined, these volunteers contributed over 400,000 hours of service to more than 300 nonprofits at a value of over $12.7 million to our community. This year marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And I can't help but reflect on the extraordinary efforts of the 9/11 families who worked so relentlessly to see September 11th designated as a National Day of Doing Good. For the past 11 years, Volunteer New York has taken that national call to action and planned and implemented a community-wide action day on 9/11, providing our local community the opportunity to join thousands of individuals across the country as they honor the memory of those lost on September 11th. I am proud and humbled to say that we've had over 10,000 volunteers join us in community over that time. Long after there are fewer of us who have that date and that aftermath seared in our brains and memories, we hope that there will be people of all ages, stages, and abilities who instinctively stop to do a good deed to make a difference, to remember how thousands came together helping each other through tragedy. That is their legacy. And so we invite you to join us in service this September in the spirit of remembrance and in the spirit of resilience. This year's 20th anniversary Day of Service events will begin on Thursday, September 9th at 7 p.m. with a free webinar entitled Volunteering with Equity in Mind. On Saturday, September 11th, thanks to a tremendous partnership with the Westchester Parks Foundation, there will be 2 special large-scale park cleanups at Tibbetts Brook Park in Yonkers and in Croton Point Park in Croton. On Sunday, September 12th, volunteer opportunities will take place at a volunteer hub at Iona College in New Rochelle and at a volunteer hub at Westchester Community College in Valhalla. None of these efforts would be possible without the support of local partners who understand the impact people power has on our community. There has been no stronger supporter year after year for 9/11 Serve and Remember from the business community than Roberson Oil and its CEO, David Singer. They once again are this year's major sponsor. Thank you. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge event sponsors, Empire City Casino by MGM Resorts and New York Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital, with a special thanks to our media sponsor, 95.5 K-Love Radio, and this year's project sponsors, Levitt First and Sterling National Bank. In planning this year's event, we've been fortunate again to continue our work with our fabulous communications team at the Westchester County, including Catherine Chaffee and the dynamic duo of Joe Scamato and Chelsea Pagano, and the first Deputy Commissioner at the Westchester County Department of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, Peter Tartaglia. Thank you so much for your partnership and for continuing to pivot and reimagine with us. And by we, I absolutely do not mean me. Kudos to Nicole Lawrence, who is Volunteer New York's lead on our 9/11 Day of Service, and Tony Fasciano, our amazingly talented communications director, and all of our colleagues at Volunteer New York. In observance of the 20th anniversary of 9/11, we and our partners invite you to help honor the memories of those lost by joining your community for a day of unity, service, and remembrance. I hope you will join us. All of the details and links to register can be found at volunteernewyork.org. You can also call Volunteer New York at 914-948-4452. Please register today. It is now my honor to introduce our partner and friend, County Executive George Latimer.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. We owe a great debt of gratitude, those of us in Westchester County, not just the government of Westchester County, but the people of Westchester County, to Volunteer New York and the work that they've done all throughout the year, and the way that they've been able to crystallize what is in many ways a natural tendency of Westchester people to find a way to volunteer in 1,000 different ways to be helpful to their communities and to causes that are worthwhile. And particularly to take this day, a day of tragedy that we recall, those of us who were there to watch what unfolded that day 20 years ago, and repurpose that day to make that day a day of volunteer sacrifice and service from what was a day of tragedy is really an impressive situation. We talk about, in the physical world, adaptive reuse. We take a factory building and we turn it into residential lofts and a restaurant, something that has a new purpose in the current day. But in essence, what's been done by Volunteer New York here in Westchester County is in essence exactly what Abraham Lincoln talked about in Gettysburg when he stood in the site of a horrific war battle and turned it into a place of national purpose and rededication to a nation by the people and for the people. And that is exactly the same principle that's at stake here when Volunteer New York says, let us take a day like 9/11, day of tragedy, and repurpose it as a day of volunteerism and service, which redefines who we are as Americans. Here at Kensico Dam Plaza Park, which is one of the finest parks that Westchester County has the good fortune to have, we have made it a point of making this particular location one where the 9/11 experiences will be remembered. Behind me is The Rising, a dramatic sculpture that evokes the Twin Towers and was funded by voluntary efforts. Jim Houlihan and a host of people almost 20 years ago, 15, 17 years ago, did a fabulous job. My predecessor, County Executive Andrew Spano, was the lead person in making sure this happened. And every year, including this year on 9/11 at 3:30 in the afternoon, we will remember that day, commemorate that sacrifice of that day. This year, we have an additional commemorance, which is work that's been done to create a monument recognition of those people who have died since 9/11 because of 9/11 related illnesses. And those people who went on that pile and sacrificed and unfortunately contracted diseases that cut short their life, made a sacrifice equal to the sacrifice that the men who went up that tower in the fire department and the police department to try to save lives on that day, and they sacrificed their lives too. When we think of America, that is the best of America, an America that sacrifices for each other, an America that doesn't put their own individual desires first, but they put the desires ahead of other people, and they sacrifice their lives so that other people can live. That is the story of 9/11, and that is the story of the men and women who worked after the incident itself to try to dig us back to normalcy. And their sacrifice now, we hope, will be remembered. We will dedicate that here. Jeanette has gone over a number of the different activities that are coming up on that day and before that day that will represent the areas of community service. We want to reinforce what she said, which is a great vote of thanks for the Westchester Parks Foundation and their energy and philanthropy. They do so much to enhance what our parks can do, but also in moments like this to help us do more than just the standard keep a park properly maintained, but to do that extra step. We also want to reinforce the appreciation for Robeson Oil, for Empire City Casino, and for the New York Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital, all of whom are event sponsors, and Robeson Oil, again, being a major sponsor year after year after year, and the tremendous philanthropy that represents. We as people in Westchester County, as I said, owe a debt of gratitude to lots of folks and Volunteer New York for today's purposes, the people who've made sacrifice. We, all of us as Americans, as we approach this somber day, need to have an attitude of gratitude. There can be a selfishness in us pursuing our individual pursuits. We have a right and a responsibility to pursue those individual pursuits for the best interests of our families, for ourselves, our friends, immediate friends. But we also have a greater responsibility to the society. It is a responsibility given voluntarily. That is what Volunteer New York is all about. But the urgency to volunteer is important. It is truthfully not optional in the sense that you can walk away from the rest of society. You have to stay engaged. And thank you to Volunteer New York for making it very clear how we can stay engaged and help our fellow Westchester residents on a date of this importance. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you so very much, George. We're so grateful for your partnership, and for understanding what it is we do and how it impacts our community. We really appreciate you. It's my pleasure to introduce Erin Cordner, Director of Philanthropy and Community Engagement for the Westchester Parks Foundation.
Good morning. My name is Erin Cordner. I am the Director of Philanthropy and Community Engagement with Westchester Parks Foundation, whose mission is to engage the public, to advocate for and invest in the preservation, conservation, use, and enjoyment of the 18,000 acres of parks, trails, and open spaces within the Westchester County Park System. We are honored to be here today to join together with Westchester County and Volunteer New York to host 2 large park cleanups as part of the 9/11 Day of Service on September 11th. Parks play a vital role in helping people heal, so it's appropriate that we are joining together as a community for the 20th anniversary at 2 of our most beloved parks, Tibbetts Brook Park in Yonkers and Croton Point Park in Croton. We are expecting to have over 200 volunteers at each location who will help rebuild fences, mulch, paint, plant, remove invasive species, clear shorelines, and clear litter and debris from trails and picnic areas. Volunteers are asked to follow all current health guidelines, including wearing masks. We look forward to seeing you all on the 11th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. We're so grateful for the many years of partnerships with the Westchester Parks Foundation, and how time after time you guys say yes and. So we appreciate you. And lastly, it is my pleasure to introduce Kathy O'Connor, the Commissioner for Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. When it was decided about 17 years ago to choose Kensico Dam Plaza as the site of the original 9/11 memorial, I have to say we were so honored. I think it was one of the best decisions that's ever been made in regard to the Parks Department in regards to Westchester County. As the county executive mentioned, many people were involved, a lot of philanthropy, a lot of volunteer work, but the fact that it is beautifully set behind me. We love the fact that there could be an ethnic festival going on or something really big going on in the plaza, but if you just walk to the right and you go and sit, it's quiet, it's calm, you can reflect, and it's never looked more beautiful. I would like to certainly thank, as the Commissioner of the County Parks Department, thank Volunteer New York for all the wonderful work that they do, and as always to thank the Westchester Parks Foundation, who works tirelessly with us to just really make our parks, our 50 parks, 18,000 acres, more beautiful every day. And under the supervision of the superintendent here, Dominic Gangemi, he has listened to me. There are flowers everywhere, and we've had people really note how beautiful this facility looks. So we are so proud to be part of the 20th anniversary, the new memorial that's being put up, as the county executive mentioned, which will be unveiled on September 11th. And once again, we just thank everyone that helps us. Our facilities are big. They deserve a lot of help and a lot of care, and we're getting it from people like the Volunteers New York and, of course, Westchester Parks Foundation. So thank you very much, and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. So once again, I hope that you will join us in community this 9/11. All of the details and links to register can be found at volunteernewyork.org or by calling us at 914-948-4452. Again, many thanks to all of our friends, ambassadors, and supporters who've joined us today. Registration is now open, and we hope that you will register today. Thank you.